Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Angelisa, and on this channel we read, discuss, and obsess over books together. And today I'm going to be doing my September wrap-up and sharing some exciting personal news with you guys. Obviously, I want to start off by apologizing for being so absent. This is so unlike me. I try to make an effort to post a video every week, and it's been really rough lately to keep up with that. I've started a new job, so I'm a lot more tired after work. And sometimes I just don't want to read or record or edit. But on top of that, I'm also moving houses. Today's October 2nd. We literally moved in yesterday and we're still moving a bunch of stuff over. So I just haven't had the time. But I am gonna get back on track for October, hopefully. So yeah, that is like the news. There is going to be a video setting up my bookshelves and like book room. So stay tuned for that. But for today, we are going to be talking about the books that I read in September. So September is like the start to the fall season for me, at least in Canada. And that means that I started reading a lot of like darker books. So we'll start off with our storygraph statistics like always. For the month of September, I read 9 books for a total of 3,143 pages. My average time to finish was 3 days. So this time it was a lot shorter because I actually like started and finished all the books that I was reading this month. I didn't like take a long time to start a book. And the moods, like I thought they were mostly tense, mysterious, and dark, followed by emotional, and then lighthearted, and the last 3 are sad, reflective, and funny. All of my books were medium paced. For genres, we had 4 thrillers, 3 literary, 2 romance, 2 mystery, 1 LGBTQ+, 1 magical realism, 1 young adult, 1 horror, 1 historical, and 1 contemporary. My average star rating this month kind of surprised me, but also not. It was 3.67 stars. So we'll get into that. How did that happen? Why didn't I enjoy the books that I read this month? The first book that I read this month, I actually started and finished on September 1st, I think, and it was To Sir Philip with Love. I think I killed this entire audiobook while like building something at my house, like a little figurine thingy. It was fun. So yeah, I rated this 3 stars. I think I liked this book, and the whole plot and how it connected to the original series was good, and like their romance was good, but it wasn't anything special. Like it didn't feel super romantic or anything to me. So yeah, that's why I just gave it kind of like an average rating of 3 stars. I'm still definitely going to continue the rest of the Bridgerton though, because I love the little pixies we get about the people. The next book I ended up reading, I ended up reading the ebook. It was for my book club. It's A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. So I actually ended up rating this 2.5 stars. The idea and the plot and everything was great. I think what happened was that it was a little bit too predictable, like blaringly predictable. So you spend the entire book not really on your toes or twisties or anything like that. Like you're just like, okay, yep, and then this is gonna happen, and then they're gonna say this, and then they're gonna say this. Like it was very typical. I think it was her debut novel, so perhaps that is why, just like her first kick at the cat. But like it was still really well written. Like I loved her writing style, but I think just the way that the plot kind of executed and some hints that she gave in the beginning was just a little bit too obvious for me. The next book I ended up reading is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Now I completely forgot that Grady Hendrix's whole thing is like comedic horror. So think like Scary Movie 5, but in a freaking book sometimes. This book was about basically this brother and sister who inherit this house, and they're fighting over whether or not to sell it. It was their parents' house, and they like mysteriously left or died in a car accident or something, leaving the house. And it ends up being that the house is like haunted, or there's this like poltergeist type of plot in it. It was a really fun read. Like I was laughing a lot. I was just like, this is so ridiculous, but it wasn't as like horrific. Like it wasn't horrific to me. Like it was very campy and like cringy sometimes, but it was still entertaining. Like the characters and like everything that was going on was entertaining. So that's why I ended up with a 3.5 star rating. Next we have Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. So I actually really liked this one. I've read another Gillian Flynn book before, Gone Girl. Sharp Objects is actually it's an HBO series with Amy Adams in it, and I want to watch it now that I've read the book. So I did rate this 4 stars. I thought it was so fun. It is like small, but the font on the pages are really small as well. Basically, this was about this lady who, like, she has to cover the murder of 2 preteen girls in her hometown, and I believe her sister was, I can't remember if it was like her sister was kidnapped when she was younger or something, but basically it's about her and her mother and her new, like, half-sister that she barely knows. And it was very graphic, I will say, like, trigger warning. There's certain things that are talked about in here for mental health reasons that, like, you want to look up the trigger warnings. Like, I think you can kind of tell by the cover. But it was so entertaining, and I want to read Dark Places by her next. Next, I actually read All the Dangerous Things by Stacy Willingham. I've had this for a while, and I think after reading A Flicker in the Dark, I became a little bit curious about this book. I'd heard a lot about it. It got recommended to me by an Instagrammer, and I bought it and just hadn't picked it up. So I decided to pick it up for September. And this is like her second novel, and I think it did a lot better. I rated this one 4.25 stars. I actually really liked this one. This one is about a lady who, like, she is looking for her missing son. I think he was like 5 or something when he went missing. Actually, no, he was like 6 months old when he went missing out of his crib, and she is looking for him. She is all over it, but she's also experiencing like a lot of insomnia and I think a separation from her husband. So she's really going through it, but I really love this book. It was very thrilling, very twisty, and I don't know, I loved the writing style of Stacy Willingham. I think she is a great writer. So the plot for this one really hit home for me. So next I read All's Well by Mona Awad, and honestly, like every Mona Awad book, I feel like I just can't tell you what this is about. Even before I read it, I couldn't tell you what it was about. I do know that line at the end that I had said where it says, "All's Well" is the story of a woman at her breaking point and a formidable, piercingly funny indictment of our collective refusal to witness and believe female pain. That is 100% what this book is about. It talks about so many things about, like, misogyny and, like, women and how we express pain and whether or not people believe us and pain management and all that stuff. And I really liked this book. I thought it was super entertaining. It's why I rated it 4 stars. But it definitely is a little bit confusing. Like Bunny, it's a little bit confusing. And if you know All's Well That Ends Well and the Macbeth plays and you've studied them or you've ever read them or watched them before, the references in this will make a lot more sense. Next, I read Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. So this one I also rated 4 stars. This one was actually a lot about, like, religion and cults, and there's these 2 young kids who are trying to, like, kind of escape from all of it and what they've kind of been indoctrinated into thinking as kids. And one of them, the boy, nobody really likes him, whereas the girl is the pastor's daughter. So obviously this is like a weird pairing. The ending to this book still frustrates me a little bit. If you don't like open-ended endings or like a it could be this or this type of ending, you might not love the ending of this book. But besides that, I mean, it was a really cool book. I thought that the religion stuff was a little bit much sometimes, but I still thought it was really, really good. The next book I ended up reading is Check and Mate by Hazelwood. So this one I rated 3.75 stars. The one kind of issue that I have with this book is the way that it represents bi women. Bisexual women are, like, stereotypically represented as these promiscuous, sexually deviant people who will just hook up with anybody. And Allie kind of took that and put it into this book and, like, blew it up to the point where, like, the main character's siblings are calling her, like, words, not meanly, but, like, as a sister would kind of tease you. And yeah. On the other end of it, really loved the chess plot. Really, really loved Nolan in this. I thought he was super fun. Not super fun, but, like, he was a great character in my mind. The whole, like, chess tournament thing and people making millions of dollars off of this made me feel kind of unbelievable, but what do I know? That could be true. It was just, it was a really fun book. And again, the Hazelwood writing, so funny, so fresh, so good. But I don't know, the misrepresentation of bi women, and then also the fact that this was marketed as a YA, and it clearly isn't. Although it's, like, a little bit, is it closed door or open door? What's the one with like no spice? Like, it doesn't describe any scenes in detail, but it does talk about that a lot. And while I know that that's something that teenagers go through, obviously, it just seemed like Allie wanted to write spice in so much, and she had to remember the age of these characters. So yeah, still really liked it, and I would still recommend it. I wouldn't really call them rivals to lovers though. Like, I don't think it's a rivals to lovers. The last book I read this month was an audiobook for my other book club. It was actually called The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. So we read this book for September because September 30th is National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in Canada. If you don't know what that means, it's the day that we kind of celebrate / commemorate Indigenous peoples of Canada and how they've contributed to our lovely land here and all of their rights and kind of treaties that we signed with them. In that, it's also recognizing Indigenous history, missing and murdered Indigenous women and children, kind of speaking about those issues and having discussions, open discussions in the community. So at my work book club, I decided to kind of make that the theme this month, and we voted on a book, and The Berry Pickers ended up being it. And I rated this book 4 stars. I really loved this book. I thought the plot was super interesting. The only thing I didn't really enjoy is that you already kind of knew what happens. Like, it wasn't mysterious in a way. So from the first 2 chapters, you kind of learn about this family of Indigenous people in Canada who they pick berries, and one of the children, she's about like 4 or 5 years old, goes missing. It's a dual timeline, dual POV, so Joe is talking about his missing sister, Ruthie. On the other side, you have this character, Norma, her POV. She's kind of going through her childhood, talking to her mother about different things that she notices. She's having these dreams. She has an imaginary best friend, and there's all of these kind of experiences that she's having that you get to listen to as well. And it touches a lot upon like white supremacy and racism towards Indigenous people. It does use some outdated terms towards Indigenous people, so be wary of that if that would be triggering in any way. I think it's done for a reason in the book, but just wanted to let you know. But yeah, it was such an insightful read, and we ended up finding an article online about kind of a real life story that happened similar to this. And it's insane how often a story like this happens. I really recommend the read. But kind of within the first 3 chapters, the whole mystery of finding Ruthie is gone, but you get to go through this wonderful book of like Joe facing all of this trauma as a result of his life and experiences and identity as an Indigenous person, and Norma kind of going through this self-discovery pathway and also discovering things about her roots. So yeah, that is all the books that I read this month. September has been a fun month for reading. I've actually really enjoyed all the books that I read this month. Like, even though the ratings aren't the best, I did have a fun time reading them. Like, I don't regret reading any of them. I don't wish I didn't read any of them. But yeah, October TBR will be up soon because half of my books are at one house and the other half is at another house. It's kind of hard to do TBR right now. So I'm gonna hopefully get that up in the next few days once all my books are in one place. Anyway, thank you guys so much. I love you so much. And again, thank you for just supporting me and being patient with me when I'm absent like this. I know that like YouTube is for fun for me, but sometimes I do feel obligated that there's people waiting for a video for me. So hello if you are one of those people, and I love you. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye.